Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 20th and final podcast of Correspondent Week. And as I've alluded to much this week, I left this one intentionally till last. Let me introduce you to our Brighton and Hove Albion correspondent, Sam Murray. Hey, Sam.
I'm very good, thank you. Hello, everyone, and congratulations, James, for making it all the way to the end of Correspondent Week.
Bless you.
Great effort.
What did
Great
you think I was
effort.
going to do? Not make it?
No, some brilliant content as always, but we're not done yet. Saving the best till last. I think we've got quite a lot to get through as well today.
Well, actually, I've got one more recording with Surge for Patron yet, so
Oh.
I'm not quite done yet, unfortunately. But no, good. There's a reason you left till last. One of which was the fact that you're not playing till Sunday is also very, very helpful. We can put this out on Saturday and hopefully get it in before we find out on Sunday who's going to play for Brighton and Hove opening game week 1. I suspect it's not going to be that easy, but we are going to get there. Firstly, though, congratulations, mate, because a major achievement for the football club qualifying for Europe last year, which despite you and many other Brighton fans shitting themselves in the run-in for no reason, I mean, watching your team, I don't know what you were worried about. First time ever in Europe. Congrats, mate. How you feeling about it?
It is incredible. 6th place in the Premier League, and it was just one of those seasons where I'll remember it forever. And it was during the week, all you could think about was the next game, and it was so exciting, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every game. We had so many amazing moments. Chelsea home and away, Arsenal away, Liverpool at home in the cup as well. And I think one of my favourite Brighton moments ever, that McAllister 99th minute penalty against Man United. That was when everyone came out of that stadium and thought, we're going to do it.
Way he took it as well. Didn't just roll it in. It was like he hit the ball for 30,000 people in the ground, smashed it in.
Yeah. If we could have a moment that gets even close to that this season, I'll be pretty happy. But of course, I'm so lucky to support this club, but I feel like I'm even more fortunate to have supported us through the lower leagues as well. It's such a unique journey, and it's not something that everyone gets to enjoy. So I remember going to Walsall away on a school night with my dad, and pitch invasions against Stockport when we stayed up in League One. And obviously, if you go a bit further back, half an hour away from going out the Football League, and now to be looking at Europe. And the Premier League was always the optimistic dream, but now we're looking forward to the Europa League draw and get to plan some European trips with my dad, my uncle, my mates. It's beyond unbelievable, and it might be as good as it ever gets. We're not sure, so I'm gonna enjoy it all, and I can't wait for the season.
Good, yeah, absolutely should, because it might be the only one, right? So do absolutely enjoy it. You're guaranteed 6 games of European football, mate. Make sure you enjoy it. Although I suspect you will have more than 6. Despite the fact you go into pot 3, don't you? So you could have quite a tough draw in theory.
Yeah, I've been following the account on Twitter who kind of keeps everything up to date with all the qualifying. I've been watching that, and I think we're at the top of pot 3, so we could sneak into pot 2. But yeah, I just want some nice away days and hopefully a good balance so we can get through and see some
by
more
the way,
football.
you want a big one. You don't want 3 games you look at and go, it was like we've been at the Champions League for a while. Unfortunately, the first time we was in it, we played the 2 Milan clubs and Real Madrid, right? Then we got back in the second time, and it had been sort of 6-7 years. Bayer Leverkusen, Monaco, CSK, Moscow, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, well, at least we'll get through. We didn't. and that was the end of it. I did enjoy very much my trip to Bayer Leverkusen, by the way, I should say. But yeah, no, you want glamour ties, mate. You want that. You want to see Brighton in the San Siro or somewhere like that, mate.
For
Absolutely,
sure, yeah. In pot 1, I think Ajax might be in now. I'll take that, and just trips like that.
Never been there, Ajax. I'd love to go.
I've heard good things.
Ajax is incredible, mate. Amsterdam's not too bad either. Right, I digress. Me and Sam just had a conversation before we started, which we probably had to have offline because people are going, look at these 2 pair just going on and giggling together. Because the last time we spoke was just before you went to the Emirates and just after you've been destroyed 5-1 by Everton. And I was like, all right, great. That was probably, for me, Sam, that Sunday afternoon, my most enjoyable Sunday of the football season. So I'd like to say thank you.
No, it's up there for me. Yeah, that's how good our season was. You probably couldn't even say it was the best. We still had a few other good ones, but that was amazing when Undav scored the second and lobbed the goalkeeper. That was pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was performance of the season to do that against the team. And I know psychologically they were probably a little bit on the floor, but the week before they'd gone and won at Newcastle. No one goes out there and wins. And you think, oh, they're going to make a last little push. You went down there and absolutely shut them down, mate, and thoroughly deserved to win. And it felt like a pinnacle of take this team seriously, not just one at the Emirates, but won 3-0 and nobody could question it. Is there any concern that now being in Europe that this will drop off? Because we've seen it a lot. We've seen clubs with respect of your size get into Europe and the next year in the Premier League becomes really, really tough. Or is your style of football just so bloody unique and different to everybody else that you'll be all right?
Well, yeah, I'll be the first to admit a little distracted by the Europa League. But I'm sure De Zerbi will make sure everyone remains focused. I was watching the awards evening a few days ago, and he doesn't get too excited, and he kept on saying that last season's done now. We go again. We've got to make sure we're ready, and I hope that's the case. I think it's just it's a bit different for a team like Brighton to get into Europe, because especially Europa League, Conference League, I think teams would expect to rotate on the Wednesday and the Thursday, but they're huge games for us. And if we're going to have fans going to Poland or to Germany, whatever, we're going to want to see our best team. We're going to want to see our best players, and we want to go for it because our huge games. Why did you
say Poland?
I don't know. It's just the first.
There's anything wrong with Poland, but when I think of glamour European ties, it's not the first thing that came to mind. You think Germany, Italy, Spain, didn't you? And these ones, from a football perspective, I mean.
Yeah. Well, wherever we go in Europe, it's going to be a massive game for us. So I think that's probably why there's that fear of rotating a little bit more in the league and maybe sacrificing a little bit of the energy we usually have at the weekends for those midweek games. I hope we keep going. I trust De Zerbi completely to get everyone going, and the depth as well. I think if some of our fringe players can step up when needed, and I hope we'll be okay. But I'm distracted by Europa League, so I don't blame a couple of the players.
No, I'm looking at runs like later in the season. So like everyone knows you've got a good opening fixture. You've also got this spell game week 10 to 13. Fulham at home, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Forest away. And in and around that period, there's 3 Europa League games. And like how much of a shite you're going to give about these Premier League games as a fan during this. And Sheffield United at home was playing in the San Siro on Thursday. The psychological change, mate. Big time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Something completely different. It's a different challenge to even towards the end of last season, we were playing midweek football every midweek, and that was a test. But it's a different kind of midweek football, and I think focus can be on the bigger games, the more glamour games. So it'll be interesting to see how we cope.
I don't think anybody suddenly thinks you're going to do like an Ipswich, like, they got into the UEFA Cup and then went down. Like nobody can possibly foresee that sort of thing. I can't even foresee you not finishing top half again, Sam, personally, as a neutral. But you allude to it. Rotation. I saw your manager, who you're lucky I can stop being obsessed so much now because I've got a new football manager. You're okay. And all day would have been mad to take the Tottenham job as discussed. But I did clear him say on my telly in front of his own mouth, we are going to rotate a lot. Now, the Europa League doesn't start up till after game week 5. It shouldn't be too much of a problem at the start. Or is it? My first FPL related question to you, Sam, is how many, at the time of recording, Friday afternoon, how many of your 11 could you say 100% they play game week 1?
100%.
100%.
I say 99%.
No. We have to factor in if players get injured, they get injured, right? But you'd say now, right, 99% sure. No doubt. If this player's fit, no doubt they play game week 1.
It's quite difficult. I'll probably say Estupinan, and I'd say Pascal Gross. Probably Mitoma as well. I think that's the 3 I would say.
Well, I saw Simon and Dingra, mate.
But then, Mitoma. Mitoma's had a lot of minutes in pre-season, and we've got, it's his first game of the season. We've got like a week break after, so. But there's not, you can't say more than 3. You'd usually say Dunk, but he hasn't played in pre-season. The goalkeeper, it's again,
Not a certainty, is it?
you've got a preference, but I wouldn't be 100% sure there either. So
Let's put it a different way then. So you play, is it Rayo Vallecano you play on Sunday? I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's at the Amex, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think, let's put it a different way, do you think the team that starts that game will be the intended team to start against Luton?
I think it'll be close enough. The thing is, we've got players like Dunk and March, I would say, who they haven't played. March has played 45 minutes and Dunk hasn't featured yet in pre-season. They might start and get 45, 60 minutes, but then even then you couldn't be sure, especially with March. I don't think you could be 100% sure of him playing, but there are definitely some positions in that team on Sunday which you're looking at centre back as well. We've used a few different centre back partnerships. I think in the 3 games we in the first game we had Van Hecker and Webster, then we had Webster and Veltman, and then in the final game we had Veltman and Van Hecker. So they've all played different. You can't really have a guess. It's quite difficult to predict who's going to play there. So yeah, if on Sunday you see Webster and Dunk centre backs, I think you can probably. I'll probably have
They
them
know
in
each
my
other's game well
lineup.
enough, though.
Yeah.
Like a conversation I had with Si earlier in the week about Trippier and Almiron. Don't see Almiron play with Trippier this weekend, so know they can play together. Dunk and Webster particularly. You'd probably more, like you've obviously signed Igor Julio from Fiorentina. It's probably more see him with Dunk if you can, right? It's probably a bigger thing.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm not. Yeah, it'll give us a good idea, I think, Sunday. Especially again, you're looking at Welbeck and Ferguson up front as well. João Pedro, Lallana behind the striker. So yeah, I think it will help us for sure. But you can't be saying it'll be the exact same team.
No, I agree. I think the ones I'd be confident about, Lewis Dunk definitely if fit. And also think the caveat I'd say on him is I don't think he even needs to be involved necessarily on Sunday. I think like if he's fit for Luton, he'll play against Luton. Would probably be my take. He's a very important one for the Sky players at the moment. Are desperate to know if he's going to play or not, because he should, if he's fit, he should be in everybody's Sky fantasy team basically. So everybody wants to see him get at least 45 minutes or so at the weekend. But I still think if De Zerbi said next Thursday, Dunk's fit, it's fine, it's available for the weekend, I'd go with it, even if he's had no pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we've been so careful with him in pre-season. He had a few issues towards the end of last season. He's playing through injuries, but he's that crucial. I think extended break was sort of expected, and then if he gets some minutes on Sunday, he's crucial. So yeah, he'll be in there if all is okay.
Is he still as important to you as he's always been? Or could De Zerbi look at those first 3 fixtures and think, well, actually, probably we're very capable of 9 points without him. Don't rush him.
I think he's still a crucial player, and I think there's been a few moments in pre-season as well where everyone's kind of, you can notice the missing Dunk in defence. You can notice there's a few mistakes, a bit of communication sometimes. Yeah, I think he's still as important as ever, Lewis Dunk.
Okay, that's good to hear. I agree with you. Sorry, on Estupinan. If he didn't play, he probably plays left back. Do something rogue, like put Gross there, or
it'd probably be Gross. I think that's what happened on the final day of last season, Villa Park. I think we had Gross left back, Veltman right back, something like that. So yeah, with Estupinan, I'm going to be careful saying anyone's definitely nailed. He's pretty close. He's become such an important player. When he first joined, he had his moments for sure, but he's got better and better. And I think he proved he is such a machine towards the end of last season. I was kind of expecting him to get a bit of rotation at some point, but he just kept on starting games, and not just starting. He was playing really well and had the energy to keep going. That Arsenal game was one of the
absurd.
Proof of that.
Running off
96th minute, 97th minute goal, 2-0 up, and he's still.
I think the comment I made on the podcast the next morning is the first thing I'd have done after him is take him for a drugs test.
yeah. But so at left back we have him. We have that Igor, who can cover left back. Hasn't played any minutes, so I'm not sure
you think he's bought to be first choice? Is that the intention? It feels that way to me.
I think, yeah, I think he's the left-footed centre back that we need to replace Colwill. I still think it'll be a similar situation to Colwill and Webster that we had last season. So I think they will rotate a little bit. But I think he probably, once he's settled in and gets a few games, he'll be above Webster in the pecking order. And then also at left back, we've got Lamptey, who can play there, but again, hasn't played many
That's
minutes.
awkward.
So yeah, if Estupinan,
probably more
if he
likely
wasn't,
James Milner.
Yeah, Milner as well.
Yeah.
So we've got players who can cover there. Yeah, it'd probably be gross if he's not available for whatever reason, or he's not quite match fit. Then yeah, Gross would be my better left back. But I don't expect that to happen.
Can you believe Estupinan's ownership?
It's 50%, is it now? 50 around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. I think it's because there's not many other alternatives in the defence. I think if Dunk was fit and was 4.5 million, there was a debate there like that there was last season, and then people are a bit more split. But if you want Brighton defence, it's kind of Estupinan or nothing. It is very high.
If Julio was to start on Sunday and play 70, 80 minutes, and when we think, then that brings it to the table as a debate, isn't it? Because Webster and Veltman feel too risky to me.
Yeah. I still think it's probably game week 1's probably a little bit too soon for Igor Julio. So there's not many options. I think that's why his ownership is so high, and he was so reliable towards the end of last season as well. He's in there for me. So
I was good. Well, that answers the next question. Have you thought longer term about it? And the reason I say that is I keep reflecting on the opening three, and you think, oh yeah, Luton at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home. There really could be a monster haul in there for him. And I think everybody's quite impacted by having him towards the end of the season, that big haul at Arsenal. These things do stick in your mind. Then there's a tougher run after that. Newcastle United, then there's Bournemouth, which we should say will be 3 days after your first Europa League game, and then Villa, Liverpool, Man City. Rough run. Do I want to keep him during that? Not sure. Have you given it thought?
Yeah. Well, I think the first 3 look good, and then you can probably make it to game week 7. Newcastle at home isn't, from a defensive, and them games usually, apart from the away game last year where they battered us, they're usually quite close. Man United away, fair enough, not great. Then Bournemouth. So yeah, with the added Europe as well in there, it's not ideal. I think I've got some. If you've got some other decent defenders, you could just stick him on the bench for a week or 2.
What's interesting about that, though, as I said, once you get to 7, it's Villa away, which is tough, but it's not a panic fixture, I don't think. Then you've obviously got Liverpool at home, who you beat, twice at the Amex last year, 3-0 and 2-1. And then sure, there's City away, which obviously always makes you feel uncomfortable. But then you come back into that run again that I said. Fulham at home, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Nottingham Forest away. There's a trip to Chelsea, your favourite club. And then you've got Brentford at home and Burnley at home. So if I get to 7, it's only like 3 more, and I want him back.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just going to be a case of the ownership is high. The first 3 are good. I think he'll be in there for me, and then we'll see where we are after that. I think some people will be probably jumping off around there for maybe a Chelsea defender, or I think Newcastle got a few good games there. Maybe Palace as well. There's a few options, and I think it'll be take it from there. But I haven't got any transfers planned in set in stone. So I think we'll just see where we are after 4 or 5 weeks.
I think once you hit 4 in the Newcastle game, which again is not a panic, but once you hit there at that ownership, I then start thinking that's opportunity where I might maybe want to take this on and say, right, I'm going to gamble against Brighton clean sheets here. I'm not sure I want to gamble against it at the start. And like I said, if it goes beyond that and gets towards Bournemouth, then I start thinking it's every chance I want to keep him. Reality is his actual returns will dictate this, right? So if he does badly in those first 3, say you concede all of them, he's probably going to get towards mass sale on Exodus, isn't it? Because his ownership, and then we'll go, we'll pick him back up at game week 10 at like 4.7. That'll be the thinking, won't it?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Whereas obviously if he does really, really well, which he very much could do over those opening three, then people probably just keep, don't they? If he's doing well, pick keep.
Yeah, yeah,
But I see it as an opportunity, I think.
yeah. If
Go
it's
against maybe.
yeah, I think there's an opportunity there for sure. It's just one of those. Towards the beginning of the season, you see 50% ownership, and it's which way do you want to go? Do you want to take the risk against him, or do you want to just keep up with the pack? So yeah, I think the strategies are there, and if it's something you could go against for sure, yeah, once it gets to it. But see how the first few go, and then see if you've got anything else in your team you need to sort out first.
He's not 100% for me, and the reason he's not 100% is there are three other defenders that I'm really keen on, which is Gabriel, John Stones, and Ben Chilwell.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be my three. But I can't help but look at that start and exactly what you said and think, and I'm answering my own question going, yeah, he might go off there. And there isn't, say with Chelsea, saying, I'll drop to Colwell and leave it on the bench and bring him in a couple of weeks, or I'll go Reece James instead. Not going to hurt in the way Estupinan is. He destroyed me in game week 36, not owning him. Destroyed me.
Same here.
Now, it's going to be a lot worse, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of them things. I think the EO will dictate that transfer, and for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, I think, looking down the line. And I feel a growing consciousness on Brighton assets, in the sense there's a lot thinking, yeah, once that European rotation kicks in and stuff as well, or I maybe want to move this to a Villa as an example, a lot of people have been using. On Mitoma, I agree with you, by the way. I can't not see him starting game week 1. I think if we'd have sat down 2-3 weeks ago, I'd have been very, very high on him. Now I'm not quite so much in the same. It's not a problem with him. It's just other players, essentially.
Yeah.
And maybe I might not start the 6.5 midfielder. Do you think he's the outstanding at that price point?
I think, yeah. Well, Mitoma is in my squad as well. I think for the first 3, again, you're looking at the fixtures, you're splitting them up. For the first 3, I think he is the best option. If you're looking a bit further along, and Buemo has a strong argument as well. It's one of those that could go either way. I'm seeing a few people start to waver on Mitoma now, but I think people trying to fit in that Arsenal midfielder after the Jesus injury or United double. But for 6.5, I think I just can't see myself taking him out the team. I think it's that first fixture as well. People have been staring at Luton at home for 2 months on their transfer screen, and no disrespect to Luton, I'm sure they'll hear this a lot this season. I know how it feels when you're the new team, but it's a good fixture, and again, it's scared to go against him a little bit. You know what Mitoma can do. But yeah, I think he's the best option short term at 6.5. Yeah.
Certainly, if we were picking a free hit in game week 1, then I think you'd have to go in it. So there is that. I think what's interesting about it to debate, and I think certainly Eze and also Diaby at Villa are very much worth consideration at that price point as well. But you look at your team, I want to go Diaby. We've got Newcastle away on Mitoma's got Luton at home, and of course, there's a lot of teams going about at the moment with more than one. Say regularly teams with Mitoma and Mbumo, particularly at the moment, which I quite like in the sense that Mbumo feels like their runs up to game week 7 is quite good, whereas yours feels like short, sharper. Then the rotation is okay. Maybe I want to exit, so I get that. So it's not like they're both going to be a problem in game week 3, and Mbumo you probably feel a little bit more comfortable with as long as he's doing all right. But there's also the caveat to say, I think, that if Brentford do really well, yes, there are alternatives, but it almost would feel like a surprise if he wasn't involved. I can picture you destroying Luton and him doing nothing.
Yeah. That's it could happen. It could happen. I remember having Solly March when we beat Wolves 6-0. I don't think he got anything there.
It was all of them, wasn't it? It was him, the 3 popular ones, Mitoma and McAllister, all 1 point each. You couldn't script it in a 6-0 win.
I think Mitoma, his form dropped off a little towards the end of the last season. People saying he's been found out. I don't agree with that. I think maybe more teams are a little bit of aware, a bit more aware of what he can do.
The awareness has grown.
But can you stop it? He's perfected that burst and cut back, and one of the only teams I can remember that really stopped him. I remember saying this last time was Fulham, because they played 2 right backs. They had Wilson, I think it was Tete as well. And they completely stopped him. He done nothing. I think at the beginning when he first came in, every shot seemed to be finding the net, and then it evened itself out a little bit. I had a look, and the last goal he scored was game week 29, and then up until then, to the end of the season, he didn't score, and he missed 8 big chances in a row. A few of them hitting the woodwork. It's just one of those things where maybe he's a bit of a streaky player. I'm not sure. I still think he'll be involved, and he's got a few assists in pre-season as well. So yeah, I think maybe compared to Brentford, returns might be shared around a little bit more. Yeah, I do like that 6.5 million slot, because everyone's got a different opinion, and there's definitely some options in there to be a little bit different. But yeah, I think I'll have Mitoma for the first week.
Yeah, he's absolutely a good pick, and he's not as likely for me as Estupinan, but he is definitely the favourite. But there will be people listening to this and watching this, and I've seen it a lot, particularly over the last week, going, why is Mitoma in 37.5% of teams and Solly March is in 10% of that number at roughly 3%, when as little ago as 10, 12 weeks ago, it was such a big thing in terms of debating the two. And you're saying since then, Mitoma hasn't scored, and yet everyone's on Mitoma. So, like, why is it that Mitoma is in so many teams in comparison to March?
I do think, yeah, it's a big difference. I think my very first draft when the game came out, I think I had March in there instead of Mitoma. I think March is a safe. You're always going against the ownership of Mitoma there, but he's a safe differential. Like the minutes are, he's not going to be too far behind on minutes. I think their numbers are pretty similar, and if you look at your team, it's very template, and you think I want to do something a little bit different, I think March is completely fine, and he could do really well. I think it's the pre-season minutes as well. De Zerbi being a little bit careful with him, a bit like Dunk. Got a knock, I think, towards the end of last season. He missed like 6 weeks, and he's only played 45 minutes so far in pre-season. So it kind of rules it out for me a little bit. And if he's not playing him in pre-season at all to protect him, is he going to come in straight away and play 90 every single week? Probably not. But we haven't signed another left-footed right winger just yet. I think we've been linked to a few, but on that right wing, you've got Buonanotte as the backup option, and Ciso could play out there. I think he played there against Southampton at home last season. Wasn't very good.
Mitoma could play out there.
No,
and play Adingra on the left.
Or
vice versa.
Yeah, he probably could, but Mitoma is, I think he's way more comfortable on the left wing. I don't think he's ever been on the right side for us. So yeah, we've got options. We've got Adingra as well, who's again more on the left side, can probably play on the right, probably more likely than Mitoma to play on the right. But
I'll have a bet that at some point this year we'll see that. Purely because I think the one thing we look at his returns towards the end of the season, we have to say he's calming down. He's missed 8 big chances, right? So he's got 8 goals over that period, clear. But he's not a surprise anymore. And he's got that kind of one kind of slow down trick where he holds you up and then he still beats you. He's like, I know what he's going to do. He's just too rapid, though. You can't deal with it once he stops you. But people will consciously be thinking, now, how do we stop this kid? He's brilliant. And one way of causing teams problems is to say 15 minutes other side,
switch
mate.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah, keep people on their toes. I bet we will see it. Not at the start. I'm not saying that. I bet at some point this season we see that Mitoma go and play on the right.
Yeah. This wouldn't surprise me too much. We've got quite a lot of flexibility in that front 4 or so, and even though he does prefer that left side, it would be something completely different on the right hand side.
It'll also open his horizon in terms of how he looks at a football match. He'll look at a game differently doing that.
Yeah.
And your manager is a big, deep thinker, so that wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so Mitoma over March, I think, it's difficult to make the case for March because of the lack of minutes so far. And I'd say it's probably not even a shoo-in to start because of that in game week 1. So you've taken one hell of a gamble. Worth saying, though, if you beat Luton 3-4-0 and March gets a couple when Mitoma blanks, we know what's coming.
Yes, we do.
and you have to factor this sort of thing into your thinking at the start. It's like, right, so what am I going to do? I'm sitting there with Mitoma. He's missed 2 big chances again against Luton. Oh, Marsh has scored twice. What you going to do? You switch it? That's not the solution, is it?
No, no. It was a similar thing last season as well. Towards the end, second half of the season, I think there was a choice that people kind of just had to pick one or two of the midfielders and just stick with it and see what happens.
Maybe March is a bad example, but we've said you've got Eze and Mbomo, Diaby, all at that value. If Mitoma blanks game week 1 with that ownership, and 1 or 2 of them, or maybe even if it's just one, if one particularly one pops off and pulls out a 14, 15 pointer, the masses of the game, everyone, you'd be thinking, ain't bothered, Wolves away or keep. Of course. But it hits you psychologically in the face if you start, why are people selling him? I'm going to lose value on Mitoma. Oh, and Diaby, say it's Diaby goes on, and he's got Everton at home as well. Becomes a problem, I think.
Yeah, that's always the thing with the high ownership players. You look on the Sunday and he's got a big red arrow next to his name on the price predictors, and everyone's getting rid straight away. So it's something to consider.
Yeah, the reason I mention that is because my take would be if I start with Mitoma, I couldn't care less about that. He's staying.
Yeah.
And I just think you have to consciously think about that sort of eventuality a little bit. It's something I want to cover more with Suj on Monday's podcast, actually. So we mentioned March, Gross. We all get the minutes though, although we never know where. He's kind of bizarre in the sense that he could go into games as a fullback and maybe still be an asset for us.
Yes, he's the reliable option. I think I love Gross. He's my favourite player from our Premier League
player
era.
Of the year, didn't he? And I know people on the outside might be quite surprised about that, but
well, I voted for Gross. So he's just so consistent. He's so reliable. I think he had the most minutes last season, most goal involvements, most points. Obviously, Mitoma, burst through a little bit later on into the season. March had a few injuries, so maybe he's not the maybe won't be the clear top point scorer this season. But with McAllister leaving, you've got that spot in centre mid available now. I think if we signed, I think I'd have to see a sign of a right back for me to consider him as an option. I just think we're in the same position as we are last year with a right back. We've got Veltman, we've got Lamptey who can play there, but I think Gross is probably ahead of him in the pecking order for sure. So we're in the same situation as we are last year. We could, and we probably will see Gross at right back at some games.
Is he going back on the pens, mate?
He's probably next in line, isn't he? But I don't think he's convincing at all from the spot. I'm not sure any Brighton fan is confident in scoring when he gets the ball for a penalty. So I think maybe he's first choice now. I think it might be a case of if someone else fancies it, I think we'll be open to it. If João Pedro wanted penalties, I don't think there'll be much resistance there. We've got Milner as well. If he's on the pitch, would probably be in there in with a shout as well. But I'm not sure you even want Gross taking penalties if you owned him. I just never sure with him.
Yeah, it feels wide open. Yet the only one in the makeup the squad that we've seen take a penalty for Brighton must be Gross, I think.
Yeah, well, João Pedro took one in pre-season, scored it, but
we know if Gross was on the pitch.
I don't know. He wasn't on the pitch. That was towards the end of the game. He won it and he took it, and he looked, it was a good penalty. He's confident. So what we want is both of them on the pitch on Sunday and a penalty, just to confirm who his penalty taker. But I wouldn't say for sure Gross. Probably first choice. But if there's someone who wants one, you'd probably let him have it.
Okay, so for you, it is clear it's Mitoma over the other two. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Despite the fact Gross outscored them both last year, and he might be batting pens, and we're just ignoring it again. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's not the right call though, is it?
No, no. Maybe if he was just a little bit cheaper, you could chuck him in there. But he'll probably be the one that gets the haul in game week 1 like he did last season. I'm pretty sure he got 2 goals. I think
he scored twice at Old Trafford. Yeah.
So I think we should all expect that to happen again. It's just that risk of him playing right back, and even if he plays centre mid, he wouldn't be in the number 10 most likely either. So he'll tick over during the season. He'll get his goals and assists like he usually does, but Mitoma over him.
Right, you mentioned João Pedro. This is quite exciting, right? 5.5 forward. You think he starts?
I think, I think he's in our best front four. I think he's going to be an important player this season. Game week 1, you can't be sure of him starting. I wouldn't be surprised if Lallana was there for the first game. It's one of them again. You're looking at Sunday and keeping an eye on that position. But João Pedro in that number 10 role, second striker, I think suits him really well. De Zerbi has mentioned him in the striker talk as well. It has him as one of the 3 people competing for the number 9 spot as well. So he's got a bit of flexibility there. I think he looks really exciting. I think he went under the radar a little bit as a transfer. We got him done so early.
He was one on him.
Yeah. I think record time. I think it's 25, 30 million. Yeah, 30 million. And he was someone that I was really excited to see in pre-season. And yeah, he went under the radar. Pre-season though, he's looked brilliant. He's looked really sharp. He works really hard as well and creative. He's tempting me. It's one that does tempt me. It might
Bloody
be worth
should do 5.5 playing up front in arguably the most exciting team in the league with those 3 fixtures at the start.
Yeah, I think he'll be an important player, and it sounds one that De Zerbi really wanted and pushed for. It's a gamble, isn't it? Still, it might be worth the gamble, but a gamble is what it is. If your team's a bit template and you want that player to mix things up, you could even rotate with. I think some people may be rotating with Watkins in 1 and 6. Watkins has got Newcastle and Chelsea. João Pedro would have Luton at home, Bournemouth at home. It's one of them he could come in and he's cheap enough to.
Oh, hold on, you're telling me when you go to Wolves with benching João Pedro? Is that what you're telling me now?
Well, personally, maybe not, but it's an option.
And by the way, I'd never be comfortable benching Ollie Watkins under any circumstance in any fixture.
No. That's true. But yeah, I'm really excited to see more of Pedro, and he's, other than the 2 obvious choices, he's the one that stands out for me that I could start with. I could see myself starting with, yeah.
Right, of these forward players at the moment, he's the most likely for me, but he's also the most awkward. So I mentioned Watkins, and I just recalled that I benched him at Liverpool in game week 37 when he missed the penalty, which I don't think I'll ever get that lucky with again. I want to start with him, and I think a lot of people lean that way because of Jesus and Nkunku. I wanted to go Watkins and Nkunku, to tell you the truth. So with the Nkunku doubt, as it stands at this moment, Watkins is highly, highly likely for me. But Nkunku's the one I want, and obviously just the big Norwegian, goes without saying. So if I go Pedro, and I'm looking at that for the first 2 or 3, and it's probably first 2, because if I think Nkunku's fit for Luton and you're playing West Ham, I think that's excuse enough to probably to move it, in all honesty. Same conversations I had with Adam about, and Ketcher might start. What am I doing? Holding the money? Leaving the money in the bank to make that transfer in a couple of weeks? It's awkward, isn't it?
It is an awkward. It's a difficult one. I think you need more of a plan with, if you do have João Pedro, you don't want to be stuck, or
but yeah,
be a little bit more flexible.
Look under, so Jackson obviously comes to contention, but once you start looking down, you think, yeah, maybe he's come down right to Ferguson. If you think you start, we'll talk about it in a sec. Or João Pedro, and you think, I'm going back up. Now, of course, you can flip it, particularly if you manage to roll a transfer in game week 2, where you flip your function of the team back about. So it can be done. It feels awkward. Reality is, if I was free hitting this way, and probably most people would agree with this, you want free Brighton.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to shake that. And yet right now I'm sitting there and I've got 1.5, I would say, because Mitoma's a maybe. And I just, from a structure perspective, I'm just not convinced that's going to work with Pedro or Ferguson. So I'm hoping you're going to tell me, actually, James, yeah, it's probably just Ferguson and Will back up front anyway. And then I want Ferguson instead.
Yeah, that's the issue we're going to be having, I think, this season. Ferguson, again, I'm such a big fan of Ferguson. I'm so excited to see how he progresses this season. For his age, his intelligence, his movement, his composure, his physicality, his attitude as well is top class. He plays like someone who's been playing for years. But he's our first choice. He's our best number 9.
Is
But
he?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'd like to think he's first choice. Yeah, but then first choice, what does that matter when you're rotating every week? Welbeck will be taking minutes from him. He got more minutes than Ferguson so far in pre-season. He's got a couple goals, and I can't remember Ferguson starting back-to-back games too often last season, especially towards the end when we had those that fixture pile up. So yeah, I'd love to say Ferguson is nailed, but I don't think he is.
But no, it's João Pedro.
And no, none of them are. No, and I think De Zerbi will be careful still with Ferguson. He keeps saying about how young he is, protecting him, don't want to put too much pressure on him. And when you've got someone like Welbeck who can come in, that's decent enough. But yeah, between those three, no, there's none that you can say will be starting 3 games in a row.
So no one wishes injury, but Danny Welbeck gets a lot of them. If
Yes.
something was to happen to him on Sunday, is it Ferguson and João Pedro? Do they start?
Yeah, well, I'll be more confident in Ferguson starting up front.
Than João Pedro, or just more confident in Ferguson overall?
I think Ferguson as the number 9 over João Pedro, yeah, to begin with. And then attacking midfield, you're still looking at Pedro or Lallana or someone like that. I would like to see Ferguson and João Pedro. I think that's got potential to be a really good partnership. So yeah, if Welbeck was to get injured, I think you would see more people go towards Ferguson. But then, yeah, De Zerbi keeps saying about Pedro and puts him in the talk of number 9 as well. And he sees him as a striker as well as a number 10.
I watched
so,
a game against Brentford, and he played with Enciso, so he absolutely was the 9.
Yeah,
And Enciso is a player I'm massively keen on at 5.5.
yeah,
He's not in at the moment, but reflecting back on that structure where I say him versus João Pedro, Enciso works for me personally with what I want to do much better than João Pedro.
yeah, yeah. And Ciso is just another one of those. He's such an exciting player. He really saw what he could do towards the end of last season. You knew he'd be special. The first few moments he got the ball, you saw towards the beginning of the season he was still very raw, but he always so direct, so much confidence, always looking to score. And every so often one of those long rangers does find the top corner and scored some brilliant goals last season. Would I include him in our best front 4 right now? Probably not. Probably not. But his versatility is his benefit here. He can play left wing, he can play attacking midfield, he could play right wing as well, couldn't he? So he'll get plenty of minutes. Another one of those you can't go into a game and be sure of a start, but across all these players, there's a bandwagon in there somewhere. Whoever does get the start, whoever does get a hole in there will be people will jump on that. Yeah, and see, so stats wise, he's the best shots per 90, successful dribbles per 90. He's tops all of that at Brighton, but yeah, I just can't say he's gonna be starting as well regularly.
Still,
It's a shame.
at least you know playing goal, right? Go on, Ed.
Yeah, I'm a bit more confident with this one, I think.
It feels like it's going to be still.
Yeah, I was leaning towards Steel anyway, but I think it will be Steel. But they've played the same amount of minutes so far in pre-season, so it's one of those. If Verbruggen gets the 90 on Sunday, suddenly you're debating again. I think, yeah, eventually, if everything goes to plan, Verbruggen will be first choice by game week 38. But he's very young. I think he needs, give him a bit of time to settle, especially as a goalkeeper, especially in our system as well. What will be asked of him in the build up and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure he'll be thrown straight in. And De Zerbi really likes Still. But you're looking even as soon as game week 5, game week 6, if you're assuming Verbruggen gets Europa League, if he puts in a man of the match performance on a Thursday, still has a bit of a shaky game, suddenly you're asking questions. There's a debate there about who gets the starts, and if you're a Steel owner, you're suddenly looking at the waiting for waiting for the lineups and you're a bit nervy because Brighton had a good game on the Thursday. So,
I mean,
yeah,
what happened with Sanchez last year? Wasn't
that's the thing. Yeah,
anybody who thought that was coming when
no,
suddenly Steele was in the team. And even
no,
when it happened, the kind of reaction afterwards was, well, it was West Ham at home. We thought we'd probably get away with it, and Sanchez had probably come back in last week. He was probably rewarding Steele for good training
yeah,
or something, was what people were saying. Nope, that's it. He was in, stayed in.
yeah, yeah, and he's done a good job still. Again, he's not. Yeah, short term he's fine, but Verbruggen looks really good. Highly rated youngster. He's got a good range of passing for what I've seen so far. I think he'll suit us really well. And yeah, Sanchez out imminently, Verbruggen in, and we've made 7-8 million in the process. I'm pretty happy with that. But yeah, so short term still
I
should
think
be number one.
if people were looking for that wild card sort of game week 8 period, maybe where you, depending on who you want to look at, it could be kind of 7, 8, or 9, but roundabouts that period, you're probably okay. But I think if you were setting in your mind, there is a big flip around about sort of game week 16 or so for a few teams. And I think if you were looking that long, which you may well do because the way your fixtures come back around again, like to guarantee that he's going to be safe for you till December, no chance.
No, yeah,
No, I
especially
agree
because
with that.
yeah, if Brighton gets the minutes in Europe as well, he's got his chance to need to prove himself. So
Yeah,
it's a difficult one.
yeah, that feels like, Carabao Cup, Europa League will probably be an intro for him, and then see how he gets on.
Yeah,
Would be the most likely. But I also would not sit here and be surprised in any way if your lineup drops in game week 1 and Verbruggen is in it.
no,
Because he might even look at Luton at home again and go, okay, look at this. He now knows that Steele's capable. Steele was very good in that Brentford game that I watched. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Both on the ball, he assisted Adingra's goal and made a number of really good saves in the game as well. So it makes me think, yeah, still very, very comfortable. But he could. De Zerbi's different. he might just go. I'll play Verbruggen in 1, and then fixtures get a bit harder. I put Steele back in goal. Like that sort of thing is not impossible.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, I agree.
But I think you will probably be okay with Steele. Certainly for the start would be my take. Casado. Not a fantasy option, fortunately, although everybody else in your squad probably is. He'll be your high scoring player, and I've said that. We stayed, you think?
I think Chelsea will give in the end and pay what we're asking.
When they
I
do,
would really...
can you say, actually, price has changed?
Yeah, we're closer to the deadline now. We need
exactly.
A bit more.
We ain't got time for replacements. Actually, it's 1:15 now, mate.
But I think it speaks for itself how highly we rate him. He's a bit more. I love McAllister, and he became a bit of a hero here. He put us on the map, and his attitude was brilliant. He's a bit more replaceable than Caicedo. Caicedo's a bit different, and I think we're significantly weaker if he does leave. Of course, we'll sign a replacement. We're not going to get someone as good as Caicedo straight away. We had a similar situation when we lost Basuma. We had Caicedo in the background out on loan. Yeah, you got a few minutes with Basuma, and then when he left, we already had Caicedo to come straight in. We don't really have that option. We have Ayara, we have Alzate, but we need a bit. We'd need a replacement in midfield. So hopefully we can keep hold of him. As much as he doesn't want to be here, he was still one of our best players towards the end of last season, even though he wanted to go in January to Arsenal. He put out a little statement on Instagram, didn't he? So yeah, if we could hold on to him, it'd be massive.
Question for you. Part courtesy as an assist from Gary Mantle, our Chelsea correspondent. Who's left you as a big player? And let's just say first choice player over the last few years and done really well.
I think the only one is, you would say, is Ben White. I think at Arsenal. Yeah. Trossard, fine. But we didn't expect more than what Trossard is doing now at Arsenal. I don't think. Just a bit of depth in the front three. Yeah, Basuma hasn't done great. Cucurella, not great, unfortunately. Potter, he's probably at home now, just watching telly. It's a shame. But yeah, no one apart from Ben White has gone on and has improved, but yeah, players are still leaving. Hopefully, they start looking at these players leaving and think, well, maybe it is better to
The
stay with
question
little
is
Brian.
laced, and I think that an example like Bissouma, who now playing under a forward-thinking manager, might come out very different this year. But I agree.
Yeah,
So far, you go failed. Absolutely.
yeah,
The reason the question comes about, and was asked to me, was, are Brighton players as good as we think they are? Or is it that they're just so well suited to the Brighton model of what football is now? Actually, to move out of that, don't look so great.
yeah,
Or is
yeah. It's a good.
Casado, as an example, is he
I
that good?
see. Yeah, I think I did think Cucurella would do well, and Basuma, I thought he would do well as well. I do think Caicedo, he can't fail. Surely he can't fail. He is really, really good.
Funny if
He
he
is.
did though.
Yeah, yeah, it would be funny. Um, yeah, I think Caicedo is different, but it's that thing, isn't it? It's a big step up to all these bigger clubs. They become the main man at Brighton, and they have their chance. And it's the pressure. There's not as much pressure here. Um, you can have a
No,
you can have a
that's very true.
I think that's the difference. And people say with like Caicedo, if he got linked with Man United when we were signing him, when we bought him, it would have been completely different for him if he jumped to Manchester United straight away. He wouldn't have got the opportunities maybe, and fans probably wouldn't have been understanding there's some random Ecuador centre mid was playing for them every week. So yeah, it's a bit of a jump leaving Brighton and then being thrown into a bigger team. I think McAllister will do well as well. I just hope that eventually one of these players stick around and think, yeah, we'll stay with Brighton.
You
But then our
you
model is to bring someone else in who's just as good but for cheaper.
listen,
So
the model of the football club, everybody's extremely jealous of, mate.
yeah,
It's like after conversation, it's like, say Chelsea, it's like, how far are you going to go with Casado? And it's like the smart thing would just be to say, right, it's too much. Ask Brighton, rather than how much you want for Casado, who they buy to replace Casado, and
yeah,
just go and get him instead. That's how it feels, right?
yeah,
Probably
yeah,
save yourself 95 million quid while you're at it.
yeah. I mean, we've always got a plan. And De Zerbi's even mentioned in a press conference the other week, which I thought was interesting. He said about Caicedo, and he said we already know who we're going to get if he goes. We've already got someone. I've already got someone in mind. There's already someone I want.
Yeah,
So
the football
yeah,
club knows the plan. The football
yeah,
club knows who the next manager is.
so if we get
If he was to
yeah,
go, they know,
yeah,
like they
that's
knew
what
with
happens.
him.
And I think we get to the point now where we just got to completely trust the club and trust they know what they're doing and they've got it all under control.
Right, let me have a stab then. I'm going to do this differently. Let me have a stab at your starting lineup, game week 1,
Okay.
and tell me how far out this is. So let's go Steele, Gross, Webster, Dunk, Estupinan. How am I doing so far?
Yeah, pretty
Fine.
good.
Casado, Alzato as an out there. Enciso, Mitoma, João Pedro, Welbeck.
Yeah, there's a few 50-50s in there. I think Webster, Dunk, right back, yeah, Veltman or Gross.
Don't buy Alzate. Please don't waste your right spot on Alzate at
He's the one to
4.5
get
goals. Yeah.
nailed. I think Veltman, Gross. I'll be debating that right up until the game. I'm not sure. I think maybe Gross against at home in a bit more of a game where you expect him to have a bit of the ball. Him at right back would be fine. Caicedo if he's still there, and then you've got Dahoud, Alzate, Gilmore. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably have.
So I'm going to change my prediction now, right? So
Okay.
I'm gonna go for Bruggen, Lamptey, Julio. Let's go. Should we go Milner at left back, Van Heck at centre back. We're gonna go in midfield now. We drop Dahoud in there, obviously. Billy Gilmore. We play Lallana with Ferguson up front. We'll play Bonotti on the right, and we'll play Adingra left wing. Is that a better?
It could be. I mean, it could be that as well.
Literally,
it's going to be so difficult. And
any of them 22 players I've just named, and maybe a couple I've missed off, could start in game week 1.
Yeah, I try every week to predict the lineups, and definitely a few more misses than hits towards the end of the season.
You're good at it though, Sam. Then I'll get your follower count up as well, mate.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well, when I get 8 out of 11, I get a few angry DMs though, so it evens itself out.
Block these idiots, man.
But yeah, I'm not looking forward to trying to predict game week 1. I'm hoping Sunday gives us a bit more information, but yeah, you're looking at that centre mid position: Dahoud, Gilmore, Alzate. Then you've got, if March isn't available,
Gilmore was great in that game against Brentford, by the way. Really good.
Yeah, Gilmore's fine. I really want him to do well. I think everyone really wants him to do well, and he had a decent run towards the end of the season. I do want to see a little bit more from him, but I think he's a good safety centre mid. He's a good player and he keeps the ball well. I think it's a big season for him. It's a really big season for him because he's 22, I think he is now, 22, 23. I think that centre mid position with McAllister gone is there. You could have, he said, one of 4 players in there. It's a big season for him. So yeah, he could be in there. I think I would have Welbeck ahead of Ferguson, maybe for the first week. Buonanotte at right wing if March isn't available. Then you got Pedro, Lallana. It could be anything. It could be anything. I'll try my best before.
Will you do us a favour?
One
thing I ask. I think it's probably clear, as long as they're fit and they get through the friendly, that you'll start with Estupinan and Mitoma, I think.
Yeah.
As it stands now, it might be difficult to call the third. If you're going to go for a third, let us know on Monday.
Okay, yeah.
Or even better, Sunday night, so I can tell everyone on Monday's podcast who you think. Like, oh shit, this has developed. I really think Ferguson's going to start now, for example.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people want to go to third, but it is brutal. Trying to even... I mean, you've got more confidence in some of the ones you said than I have, mate. So I couldn't look there now. Having watched a Dingra in that game against Brentford, I couldn't look at any player in your team and say 100% start game week 1.
Yeah.
Estupinan would be the closest.
And that's completely fair. And it's annoying. It's annoying because I do want to say people are nailed. I don't want to sit on the fence and say, well, there's a 50-50 to be had.
Sit on the fence. It's the truth.
It's the way it is.
Don't promise things to people that you can't.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And we've got options now, and there will be some rotation. But it's new to us. I just don't know how it's going to work. And this is the first time we've had a pre-season with De Zerbi and started the season. What does he do? Does he start with his tried and tested? Does he start with Lallana, Welbeck, or does he throw in Dahoud, Pedro? I don't know. There's so many things to consider. But yeah, hopefully Sunday we have a better idea.
We might know more after the friendly. Yeah. Where do you think you will finish?
Well, we're gonna win the Europa League. I think 8th around there. You got the 4 teams. You got Brighton, Villa. I think Spurs are in there as well, and you could consider Newcastle maybe dropping off a little bit with Europe. But I think Newcastle will finish above us. Villa looking good. 8th would be pretty good. Top 8th, 9th, somewhere around there, and a good run in Europe.
How many of the correspondents do you think predicts you for top 6?
Top 6. So we finished 6th last year, but then we've got. I think a lot of people would have Chelsea above us, wouldn't they? Probably 6.
1.
Oh, no confidence. I don't think I had a 6.
And I wouldn't either.
No.
Because I think there's going to be a big mentality challenge on this season as much as a physical one. Because I think you'll do very well in Europa League. It would be an out there that most teams, even if you play good teams in Europe, are going to be, what is this?
Yeah, I think over 2 legs as well. Over 2 legs, we beat we'll beat a lot of teams over 2 legs. So
West Ham a couple of years ago got to the semi-finals, and it was the first time they'd been in Europe for quite some time, right? So let's not pretend that you're incapable of doing that sort of thing. I got you for 7th. If you'd have missed out on Europe altogether, I would have predicted you top 4.
And
I just think it's too much of a challenge.
If we keep Caicedo and he's happy to keep playing for us. Yeah, and we didn't have Europe. I would have had us 4th or 5th as well, which is crazy because yeah, I'm pretty pessimistic sometimes. But you look at the squad we've got. Yeah, Europe mixes things up a little bit more. But what would Europe be? Would eighth be Europe next season, or probably
It's
it's
quite
changed up
dependent
a
on
bit,
a
isn't it?
number
Yeah,
of little factors.
yeah,
But no, I mean, commonly seventh. To be honest, the guarantee is fifth is the only guarantee, because
yeah.
if you have, um,
The cup
let's
winners, I
say
suppose.
outside the top six winners of the cups, then it could just be fifth, and that's it. But obviously, fifth this year could go to Champions League, and then the rest drops
Yeah,
down. Then if you get, say, like a West Ham win a Conference League, they go into the Europa League, and suddenly you're at 8 or 9 teams in Europe. Like, it is possible, and our clubs will do well in Europe. I think we know that, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
I'll be pretty happy clinging on to an eighth or something like that. If we keep Ferguson fit, if Caicedo stays, we've got a good squad there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really, really exciting.
Good stuff. Very best of luck as ever.
Thank you.
I will thoroughly enjoy watching your football team. And I think I might enjoy it more this time, because I won't watch you necessarily and be quite so depressed about then going back and watching Tottenham. I might get to
Yeah.
watch you and enjoy you, and also enjoy watching my team. Maybe. I still think you'll finish above us. Sam, anything you want to plug other than your predicted Brighton lineups before you go?
No, just my Twitter, just at FPL Seagull. That's where I try my best to predict the lineups. And yeah, you said you were going to plug the Patreon, didn't you, on the last podcast? I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I think we've gone on too long. All right, fine. Good segue. I didn't ask Sam to say that. Yeah, look, if you enjoyed this week, it's a big effort. Big thanks to all the correspondents. Huge and absolutely brilliant contributions from all 20 of you. It's both my favorite and my least favorite week of the whole year. Favorite because I get to talk to all you guys, and I'm in the best position of anyone because I'm talking to you directly, right? Rather than, oh, I might skip the Bournemouth one and you've missed out if Salah's worth having in game week 2. So it spins off into different directions. You've all been absolutely brilliant. You always are. What I don't like about it is all the work that goes in the background, the sending files to Nico for the videos, the writing, the finding what intro to clip for the audio, the writing the bios. There's a lot of stuff goes on in the background. Big thanks to Nico. It's a massive week for him, and he's seamless in everything he does with the videos and stuff. So shout out, big man, if you're watching, which I presume you will be because it's near the end. Yes, if you want to support the show, partly because you've enjoyed this week and you think we could do with the support, we'd love to have your support on patreon.com/Planet FPL. There'll be another 20 odd pods this week, and the background from intermediate plus tier and above, which feels a bit shit after having just produced 20 podcasts for free this week. But yeah, that's roughly what we've got most months behind the paywall. Support the show because you want to support what we do. We're not going to make you a better FPL manager. We'll be a better FPL manager, find some different FPL content primarily. But the correspondence will give you plenty of insight across the season and obviously available to all of you. We'll have Clash of Correspondence, which will normally be on a Thursday during the season. The first one will be ahead of game week 2 with Rory and Adam on Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. Your first, Sam, I think, is in the international break when you go to Manchester United, isn't it? I think, with Gary.
Yeah, Man United. Yeah,
Which will be just after this run. You can tell us whether we need to sell everyone or not, basically. Good stuff. Thank you very much, Sam. Right, that's it. Party poppers and all that jazz. Suj, it's time I had a pay rise. For the benefit of those on the audio, cue music, please, man child.